With the Wembanyama sweepstakes about to hit the league and a bunch of teams being predicted to tank for him, we gotta talk about tanking. The active NBA teams in some way not trying to win in a certain year to acquire a higher draft pick for next year. A problem that's been a sore spot for the NBA in recent years, with it being problematic that fans are tuning into and attending games where a team isn't really trying its hardest to win. But tanking isn't exactly a new problem. Before 1985, the first two picks were decided by a literal coin flip between the two teams that placed last and second last. Around this time, stories had begun to come out, such as the owner of the San Diego Clippers insisting that the Clippers finish last to draft Ralph Sampson. And not too long after, the Houston Rockets were spotted intentionally benching their starters near the end of the season to acquire Hakeem Olajuwon. It was starting to become known league-wide that there was a problem brewing and something had to be done. Since then, the NBA has honestly made a lot of changes to the lottery to try and prevent tanking, but the problem has still remained and has arguably gotten even worse, with talent being so easy to scout and obsess over across social media. It seems that any variation of the lottery system incentivizes tanking to get those truly elite players, no matter how many changes you make to it. This brings us to the team that really brought the tanking problem to light in the modern era. Sam Hinkie's process Philadelphia 76ers. During Sam Hinkie's reign as general manager from 2013 to 2016, he shipped off all players seen as having any value in the present and started a blatant rebuild for the future, ensuring that their picks would have valuable odds in the lottery. Trading for picks was also considered a top priority, and this can be seen by looking at the sheer amount of picks the 76ers have had from 2014 to 2020. The 76ers ended up drafting 36 players in that time span, around twice the regular amount for a team. This Sixers team was all in on losing multiple seasons to acquire enough studs through the draft to make a dynasty. I'm sure in Sam Hinkie's head, he imagined this tank job ending with an era almost like Golden State on steroids, acquiring the perfect pieces through the draft and making pushes to win championships with players still on bargain contracts. However, with Hinkie being forced to step down halfway through the process in 2016, he never got to finish the plan he started. But to be completely honest, it doesn't seem like Hinkie's plan would have worked out anyway. With not so stellar draft selections like Jahlil Okafor with a 3rd pick in 2015 and Elfrid Payton with a 9th pick in 2014, just to name a few. With Hinkie still in charge, it's tough to assume he would have built a dynasty. Sure, this got the Sixers their franchise guy in Joel Embiid, but was drafting one top-level player after 30-plus picks and half a decade of constant losing worth it in the end? That's ultimately up to the fans to decide once this team has run its course. The process is finally done processing, and through all the assets acquired is essentially left with Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, and a good supporting cast. As we've said in a previous video, this could be enough to win a championship on paper, but there is a lot to overcome, and the window is closing fast, with Embiid turning 29 soon and Harden already being 33 years old. This just goes to show that while the team the Sixers have is good, tanking for years to get it is questionable, especially since they've gotten no championships or even trips to the finals out of it. Meanwhile, there are teams like the Celtics or Heat, just to name a few, that generally try to always stay competitive, slowly build a cohesive squad even down to the bench, and make smart trades that have had more success than the Sixers recently. The 76ers are definitely the most aggressive case of tanking in recent memory, and Sam Hinkie paid the price for it. But the Sixers are definitely not the only team guilty of tanking. And fast forwarding to the present day, the discussion of tanking, good and bad, has once again come up with Victor Wembanyama on his way to the NBA. This is leaving many wondering if we may see the return of a tank job as blatant as the process Sixers. There are some new, exciting, potential-filled teams hanging around the bottom of the standings at the moment that would be a scary sight with Wemby on the team.
Now looking at this year, there's obviously been a lot of buzz surrounding tanking due to the French phenom Victor Wembanyama. But so far, the early weeks of the season have been off to an insane start, with the Utah Jazz climbing up the standings in the Western Conference, after many people thought that they had potential to be one of the worst teams in the entire league, and the former champs looking like they still have a little bit of a title hangover. Of course, it's a long season, and teams such as the Rockets, Pistons, and the Magic all looking like they're on their expected trajectory, although you can see the roots of what's starting to form in some of those squads, with the Rockets locking down KPJ for 2 years and having Jalen Green looking a lot more comfortable in his second season, living up to the stats many people expected on him in his rookie year. With those two in the backcourt and having Şengün and this year's second overall pick, Jabari Smith Jr. developing alongside them, it seems they'll be an exciting team to watch if they can also add Wembanyama to that group as well. The Orlando Magic are also looking promising with their rookie Paolo Banchero, who already made history in just his first game, becoming the first rookie since LeBron to record 25-5 in their NBA debut. And of course, he almost got a 27-point triple-double in his second game. Unfortunately, his ankle injury has temporarily put a damper on his hot start, and of course, as all tanking teams do, they'll make sure Paolo is 120% recovered, and then an additional week before he even gets close to suiting up for a game. Which is a true shame, not only for basketball fans, but potentially Paolo's own rhythm. Another player fans have been robbed of is gilgeous-alexander, as he's proven last season his clutch ability, contributing to the massive amount of game-winning buzzer beaters last year. Unfortunately though, it's the league's worst kept secret that he'll inevitably be shut down going into the final couple months of the season, never playing more than 70 games a year, which he hasn't even done since his second season in the league. However, in his first year with the Clippers, he was capable of completing an 82-game season, so it is something he was once capable of doing without interference. And going into this season, he's already off to another hot start, already knocking down a game winner against the Wizards, while being tied third for most points per game. It's only a question of how long he will be able to stay on the court until Sam Presti has seen enough. See, unlike the other teams on the tanking block this year, OKC's tank is a long gain as Presti has already stacked up quite a bit of first round draft picks, and it's hard to see exactly when they'll be done with their tanking endeavor. Or hopefully, if they are able to pick up Wemby or Scoot Henderson even, then maybe that'll be enough to be the end of it all, and we'll get to see this young core start to be competitive in OKC. All of this does have a negative effect on the fans, with even Adam Silver taking notice, forcing him to look at different ways to help deter teams from tanking and incentivizing competition. But it's not only the fans that get the short end of the stick, as this does ultimately throw players out of their rhythm, and eventually when younger players are expected to complete a full 82 games, while maintaining a level of competition high enough to help them make a deep run into the playoffs. It might be too much of a load to carry for players such as SGA who have been brought up in the type of system that incentivizes sitting out. We've mentioned Joel Embiid in his early days of the NBA, and now looking into his future, he's consistently in the talks for MVP, but usually hung up on the availability factor, and a lot of his playoff struggles could partially be chalked up to him always being slightly banged up in the postseason. Of course, Joel's game is more physical than SGA's, but the wear and tear of a playoff run is enough to affect any great player or team that we've seen, with the Warriors this season coming to mind. And it's part of the reason why back-to-backs and three-peats is the amazing accomplishment that it is. Along with the wear and tear, it has potential to give players a bad attitude toward winning, making the pathway another step harder for players struggling with the mental aspect of making it through the season while staying on point. Hopefully these outcomes don't affect the talent of the young players coming to the league now, as there is plenty of talent showing promise as of late. But we'll be here to report on it all. So hit the subscribe button not to miss another upload, hit the like button as well, and we'll see you on the next video.